If you're still falling for the clearly insane narrative that Joe Biden and his progressive handlers are the foreign policy expert adults in the room, then I honestly don't know what more you need to see or hear or feel or actually experience. Bob Gates, worked for Obama. He said years and years ago that Joe Biden has been wrong on every single foreign policy decision of his entire career. And it was true then, it's true now. He's keeping that streak alive, man. Joe Biden has caused or worsened wars all over the world, and now he's attempting to drag peaceful, strong, and consistent allies of the United States needlessly into what has become pretty typical Western mistakes. I mean, this guy, this is no diplomat. He is nothing more than a typical leftist. And what a typical leftist does is when someone doesn't do something that you demand they do, you just attack them as some sort of racist, misogynist, this or that ism. And that is exactly what Joe Biden is doing to Japan, of all places, Japan, right now.
There's sort of a new law, the laws of physics that can't change. There's sort of economic laws of physics that are occurring now. You cannot succeed as a country if you leave more than half of your brain power on the sidelines. Not a joke. Not a joke. Look what's going on. Look what's going on in Japan. Japan is in a position where traditionally women are as well educated as men, but the tradition was once they had a child, they were to drop out of the job market. Well, I spent a lot of time with President Abe as vice president, and guess what? It's called Abe economics they're talking about it, we're calling it. And that is, there's an entire move, because they are xenophobic, because they don't want to invite other people from outside their country to come in and make up the workforce. They have fewer workers than they have a need for workers. And so what they've done is they've decided to encourage women to stay in the job market.
Yeah, I mean, this is what happens when you hand this guy a microphone. He will tell a crowd of people, a Democrat crowd that probably doesn't even know that Japan is even an island. Who knows what the hell they know about Japan or Japanese culture, but I believe this, if you're dumb enough to show up at a Biden campaign event, you probably aren't too aware of much, right? But anyway, he tells these people that because Japan is not willing to accept Gaza refugees, the same refugees that their own neighbors in the region won't accept, and if you're wondering why places like Egypt won't accept them, it's because, according to our own Associated Press, they recently did a poll showing 57% of Gazans and 82% of the folks who live in the West Bank support what Hamas did on October 7th. Sounds like they're in line for a scholarship to an American elite university, but it's just simple math, man. These are not cuddly, friendly refugees just yearning to assimilate into Japanese or Western culture. And at least Japan recognizes that. But, we end up with a guy who uses 0% of his brain saying that Japan cannot be economically successful using only half of theirs. I mean, it's amazing. You cannot make that stuff up. But why attack Japan? I mean, why attack anyone in such a ridiculous way? Well, I think he's just trying to reset expectations. I think he wants to remind everyone else that the tolerant and accepting and good progressive American thing to do would be to welcome with open arms people that, are statistically speaking Hamas supporters and Hamas enablers, because this is his plan right here.
This news exclusively on CBS News. The Biden administration is considering a plan to allow some Palestinian refugees to come here to the United States. That's according to internal federal government documents that were obtained by CBS's Camilo Montoya Galvez. According to the plan, some Palestinians fleeing the war would be offered a permanent safe haven here in the U.S. And one option under consideration is to allow those who have immediate family members who are either American citizens or permanent residents to enter the country if they pass various background checks first. The plans would require coordination with Egypt, which has so far refused to allow large numbers of people from Gaza to cross the border into that country.
Internal federal documents are leaking, showing a government plan to welcome some Palestinian refugees. And by some, they don't mean 2 in 10 West Bankers or 5 in 10 Gazans. They mean as many as they can possibly get away with before these crazy, racist, xenophobic conservatives put up enough of a challenge or shine enough light on what's really going on. They will bring as many people from as many places as quickly as they possibly can. They do not care about you. They do not care about your safety. They don't care about your opinion on any of this. So just shut up and do as you're told, support everything they do, or you're just as xenophobic as the white supremacists over in Japan. And you don't have to be a crazy Trumper to think that this probably is not going to end well.
But it should be no surprise that in addition to the millions and millions of people invading our country from the border, Crooked Joe is now reportedly planning, this is wonderful news for you people in Wisconsin, to bring massive numbers of Gazans from the Middle East, all live to your American towns, your towns and villages. Your towns and villages will now be accepting people from Gaza, lots of people from Gaza. And various other places, Yemen, lots of other places. You know, just let the world simmer down a little bit, please. He's now delivering thousands. He just announced last night he's going to deliver thousands of people to a town near you. Joe Biden seems he's just determined to create the conditions for an October 7th style attack right here in America. It's going to happen with all of these people coming in from the southern border, and you saw the 2 months ago where it was announced, here we are, they're trying to maybe stop. And Border Patrol's incredible, by the way, and ICE is incredible. They want to stop it, but they're told not to. Stand down, they're told. But did you see where, and nobody knew this, that for a year and a half they've been actually flying planes in and landing in towns all over the country, and they're flying them in by the thousands. They're flying them in going over the border. They are flying them in.
It's funny, man. I mean, there are people that watch Trump rallies and they really do believe that everything that the guy says is a lie, that none of it is true. Border Patrol standing down, that's not true. Secret flights delivering parolees from around the world, that's not true. That can't be true, right? Plans to bring Palestinian refugees that cannot possibly ever be vetted, really vetted. They just refuse to believe this stuff. But those very, very same people, when they actually see the proof, when they actually see with their own eyes the evidence, they somehow switch their brains from Trump is a liar and none of that could possibly ever happen, that's just Republican scare tactics, to this is the right thing to do. We are so good and wholesome, and I'm riding with Biden. I mean, that's how their brains work. And it's freaking insane, man. I have tried to understand the liberal brain. I mean, I've really, really tried. And honestly, I just don't think that it's possible. It's the same thing when he talks about terror attacks. They say, oh, he's a fear monger. That's just racism. Those are dog whistles.